Hi, today I'm here with Anndrea Young, who's running for City Council in Ward 5.
Yes.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Why don't you begin by just telling us a little about yourself and your background?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised from North Minneapolis, Ward 5 specifically. I've had the opportunity to do a lot of things in the community. I spent the last couple of years as a community organizer for the Heritage Park Neighborhood Association, and then they eventually elevated me into their executive director.
And what is the Heritage Park?
Yeah. So it's the Sumner Glenwood neighborhood in the city of Minneapolis. So it's the makeup of the neighborhood would be Lindale going down to about Glenwood, and then Glenwood connecting back to Van White, and then Van White up to Plymouth, Plymouth back around to Lindale. So that makes up the perimeter of the neighborhood. Yeah, that's the neighborhood. But yeah, so with my community organizing work, I've had the opportunity to become involved with a lot of just coalition spaces, which I feel like has made me decide to throw my name in the bucket for Ward 5, just the work I've done in the community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not that familiar with Ward 5, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about it, maybe what are some of the strong points that you see living there, because you live there now,
I do,
right?
yes. Mm-hmm.
I have to check that.
Yes, of
I've
course.
Yes. I've been tricked.
That's okay.
So you live in the ward, but I also did see you went to school in Tennessee.
Yes. So I went to college in Nashville, Tennessee at Tennessee State University. I went down in 2012, graduated in 2016. I came back for a little bit. I had the opportunity to be an intern for the Minneapolis Final Four when it was here. And then after that, I was able to intern with Meet Minneapolis for a little bit, helping with Super Bowl while it was here, which kind of opened the door for me to be able to go into the entertainment industry a little bit. So I left and went back to Tennessee just because when it comes to the entertainment industry, it's a little bit bigger in the South. Yeah. So the opportunities were there, and I spent a couple years doing that. I had my first daughter in 2019. I have two daughters. So I had my first daughter in 2019, and COVID is what brought me back home, wanting to be closer to my family. Very scary times. I asked people if they experienced some of the things that I witnessed down in Tennessee, and they're like, no. So I don't know. I just felt like it was really scary, the things I was seeing and experiencing down there, and just wanted to be closer to family.
So it just makes me wonder. I've been to Nashville once. And is it? I think it's about the similar size as Minneapolis.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I think Nashville's bigger.
Okay.
But maybe just because of being down there, I feel like I've watched a lot of development happen too in Nashville compared to going down there in 2012. And we go and visit quite often, but I recently seen some pictures of the skyline, and I don't know if it's just the development that's happening that makes it seem bigger, or the size.
Okay.
The size could be the same, but it could just be the amount of development that makes it seem like it's a bigger city in a way.
Well, there's certainly, I would say, more tourism, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for
there's
sure.
always people there for the country music, and
Yes.
the bars are always full.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a crazy place.
Yeah. It's a fun place.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes.
Yep. So bringing it back to Minneapolis, tell me more about Ward 5. I mean, one of the things that I hear all the time is that it gets overlooked in the government.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like for this particular city council race, it's also overlooked a little bit because some of the other races get a lot of attention. As I've kind of written about, is your vote on the city council is just as important as any other members. And so I wanted to make sure that we gave Ward 5 some attention.
Yeah.
So tell me about why you like living there, and maybe some of the challenges you would like to address if you are on the city council.
Yeah, I would agree with it being an overlooked place. I think that the people there are beautiful. I think we come with a lot of culture, and there's a lot of artists there. I don't know, there's just a lot of greatness there, and I feel I don't know, just the negative, the negative things of North Minneapolis, specifically, but Ward 5 are kind of elevated more. I lived in New Hope for about 6 months, and I just feel like the sense of community that's in North Minneapolis is different too. I may not know, I live in an apartment complex, so I may not know every neighbor, but I mean, being in the elevator with my neighbors, we speak. Being in the hallway with my neighbors, we speak. I don't feel like I felt that when I lived in New Hope. So I do feel like there is just that sense of like community in North Minneapolis. I feel like the people there are deeply rooted in making sure that they show up and advocate for the community in a way, and partially probably because of the government and the things that they've experienced as well. For me, those would be like some of the things I also love about it. But I don't know, I just feel safe there, and I don't know if it's just because I'm familiar with the place and I haven't lived in a lot of different cities in Minnesota in general, so I don't know if that's just why. I feel comfortable there. I enjoy going to the parks that I grew up going to as a kid. I can walk around North Minneapolis with my eyes closed, so I don't know if that's why I love it so much. But it's home for me. Always has been, besides the 6 months I lived in New Hope and then me going off to college. But I've always ended up back in that place, and even with the work, a lot of the work that I've done has been in the ward specifically, because I've worked for Cookie Cart, and I've also worked for Phyllis Wheatley at Mary T. Welcome, which is their youth development program there. So I don't know, it's just some way, some shape, some form, I always end up back in Ward 5 specifically. But North Minneapolis invested doing the work, and that feels good to me too.
So you mentioned that you are a renter. Do you, how's the housing situation in general there? I actually just read an article about more people are actually moving into the neighborhood to buy homes because it's a little bit more affordable. I've also heard kind of horror stories about hedge funds buying up properties there and making it difficult for people to buy homes.
Yeah.
So what's your take on housing in Ward 5? What's the situation?
I think we have a little bit of everything. I will say, compared to other parts of Minneapolis, yes, it is a little more affordable. But I guess when you think about certain demographics, I don't know if it's affordable for all, being realistic. As far as big corporations coming in. I know of one local developer for sure, or two. I know of a couple that have actually put properties in the community as well. So there's that. Yes, I think that I would love to one day purchase a home, and again, in North Minneapolis. I do think that there is a gap when it comes to the educational part of it, and making people aware of what's out there to purchase homes, as well as the type of homes that are available to purchase. I have seen a lot of the newer homes going up. I know I think it's PRG that is one of the housing organizations that are invested in putting these new homes into the community, and they're beautiful as well. We have a lot of older homes too, and those can get to be expensive for someone who doesn't know much in the piping and those type of things, the repairs that will cost to get the home fixed. But yeah, there's a dynamic of beautiful homes, different type of housing in Ward 5, and I would love to continue to be invested in adding more. Because not everyone wants to be a homeowner, right. Not everyone wants to be a renter, but having that availability is what helps make the ward better.
So what would residents expect to see if you're elected in terms of what you would champion for housing there? For instance, are you in favor of rent control? What are some of your ideas for helping people to have an affordable place to live? In favor of rent control, in favor of making sure that we bring in the organizations that have the housing funds available and, the educational resources to make sure that, spaces are held, forums are held where people can come in and learn more. In favor of deeply affordable housing, if that's at 30%. In favor of shelters for encampment. So, I'm in favor of it all just because I believe that housing is
a right, not necessarily like if it was up to me, we wouldn't pay for us to live. Like, but I mean, it's a part of the economics and dynamic of how we live, the structure. But yeah, for sure, a little bit of everything is important to make sure that everyone has something that they can afford.
So, is there much homelessness in Ward 5? Have you seen?
I mean, there's been encampments that have been cleaned out. I will say there are areas where you can find a little bit of stuff happening, but not as much as like in South Minneapolis, for sure. Yeah.
Have you heard about I think they just had kind of a closed door meeting about this developer Sabri, who allowed a homeless encampment to start on his parking lot. Yeah. And then now I think the city is going to sue him about that. What's your thought on that?
I mean, honestly, it
was interesting because Ellison missed the vote.
Okay.
But it was 6-4 in favor of allowing this lawsuit to go forward. So I don't know if you've had a chance to think about it, how you would have voted, or what, and the bigger issue of what should happen.
Yeah. I think that my vote would have been leaned towards what the constituents want, because I feel like as a representative, you're there to represent the constituents. So if more people in the community wanted it out, I probably would have voted in favor. But personally, when I first learned about what that gentleman was doing and allowing encampment to be on his private property, I was like, wow, it's always looked at as so bad. And I mean, I guess I get the things that come with encampments or the negatives that, can come out of that. But to allow them this space that they're not in a bunch of other areas, the unhoused individuals, they're not in a bunch of other areas or, taking over parks or whatever, I felt like that was kind of a cool thing that he did. So personally, I probably would have been in favor of him. But if my constituents are not in favor, because I'm there to not push forward just my agendas, but the agenda of, the residents that live in the ward. So if that's not something that they wanted, I would have definitely been with the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of an interesting thing where if it's not in your ward, you're just looking at it from the outside, sort of. But, kind of what I heard there from you was the importance of listening to your constituents a little bit. And I have to wonder what you think of Ellison's decision to take this this role at Harvard and kind of come back only occasionally. It seems like it's going to be hard for him to listen to constituents.
Yeah. To me, I feel like as a constituent and as someone that works in the community that has reached out to him, it makes sense now, with him not being as present, okay, this is where you really have been. I guess for him, it's a wonderful opportunity. Harvard, that's beautiful. You know what I mean? And then him being an African-American man as well, that's even more beautiful. But you do have a responsibility right now. I think that it's interesting that he's still being paid, not trying to be messy or shady in any way. But if it had been any other council member, would the deal be the same? Would the opportunity be the same? Would they have been told to resign simply because, they're not present? So for me, I don't think it's okay, because as a city council representative, one, by law, we're supposed to be here in the ward, living in the area. And then two, you're not showing up for your constituents, which isn't fair to them, as people that believed in you, supported you, and elected you back into office. But like I said, I mean, it is a beautiful opportunity. And I mean, it kind of feels like he's at the end of the rope with everything. And I mean, it's not much time left, but still, it's oh no, you kind of left us hanging.
Well,
maybe
there is some big work to be done with the budget in particular.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true too.
So, my position is sort of whoever gets elected, I do hope they're close to the constituents and listen to them. And but let's hear from you. How would you describe your top 3 issues that are motivating you in this campaign?
Yeah. So my campaign is called Invest in 5. I'm really pushing for like anti-displacement, which again that falls with like housing and affordability, but also making sure that the people that are here now won't be displaced. Just with when development comes or when the blue line comes through. Public safety. My approach was restorative practices, just because I believe that there should be a sense of like healing, especially when it just comes to some of the constituents or some demographics of constituents in Ward 5, but also public safety, just not only being when we think about the violent crimes, but like I met with the executive director from the North Loop Neighborhood Association, and pedestrian safety is another public safety issue in the North Loop area. So even considering things like that, and then for me, development. Like I would love to see Ward 5 become more than what it is. Just investing into our community, the people, the opportunities, the workforce. Those would probably be my 3 biggest. I know constituent services is super important, but I feel like we all pitch that. But I mean, I'm here, I'm going to be there in that way. But like those would be the 3 things that I would want to make sure that are happening for Ward 5.
So your first one there was making sure like people aren't displaced. What's causing displacement now?
Yeah. So like in the neighborhood that I currently live in, it's the living conditions that are causing displacement over there. But when we think about when the blue line the tracks began, developers will come in and the prices can go up. So people not necessarily being able to afford it. So
are you saying the housing that's going to be by the blue line, because it's by that
transit infrastructure,
the value of it goes up,
it can
and
rise.
Then the property taxes go up.
Yep, and or even just like because of those things, landlords then elevating rent prices that the people that live there may not be able to afford. So yeah, making sure that we have accessibility to funding or sources to help people be able to stay, especially because like this has always been if we go back in time, the history shows like redlining, and this is where certain individuals were placed. And if they don't want to move out of this neighborhood just because it's beginning to be developed, I feel like they should be able to stay for sure.
Yeah, it's like it's a tough balance, because on one side it sounds like you want to prevent displacement, but on the other side it seems like you're looking for more development. Yes. And there has been some didn't they put in like a giant fitness center or something?
V3.
Have you had a chance to go there?
Yeah, I'm a member, and my
Okay.
daughter attends the Boys and Girls Club inside of there. So yeah, we're in there. We're invested.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was good for the ward?
I do think so, yes.
Yeah. And there's this Upper Harbor terminal.
Yes.
Any thoughts on that?
I mean, as someone that worked in the entertainment industry, this is going to be phenomenal. Especially with the tourism that it could bring. I think that it's going to be great for North Minneapolis for sure.
So let's see. There was displacement was one.
Public safety.
So let's talk about that a little bit more. I mentioned I didn't hear anything about police when you were talking, and obviously that's a kind of a controversial topic. Do we need more police? Do we need more behavioral crisis? Do we need more alternatives to policing? Like, where do you fit in that spectrum?
I don't believe in like over policing, so I'm not going to say in Ward 5 specifically. I'm not going to say more police is needed. We do have like the violence interrupter programs. I think that those are like the violence interrupter program, and then like the mental health services are great. I feel like it's important to fund both of those opportunities as well. Yes, police matter and having their presence matters too. But I think it's big or it's super important to build those relationships in the community. So like if we could have police not patrolling the neighborhood in their cars, or maybe out walking or on bikes, just so that they're actually more in the community, more hands-on. I think that I would like to see them more present in that way. And maybe that would require for more of them to be hired. I don't necessarily know what that will look like, but it would be nice to see them show up in that mannerism. And then again, with the violence interrupters, we have that program, and I do believe that the model actually works, and I think that is working in North Minneapolis. So continuing to invest in them while also making sure, the monitoring of making sure that they're actually showing up and doing the work, or you're funding the right organizations that are doing the work. So.
Have you seen them in the neighborhood? And
yes, I've seen a couple different ones. Yep.
Because there's sort of different programs in there, right? There's the violence interrupters, and then there's also like ambassadors, right? People that just sort of walk around and check on everybody. Yes. And I'm not sure, do they have both of them there, or just the?
I don't know. I guess I don't really know the difference in the organizations per se. I can tell you what color like shirts and stuff I've seen and which groups I've seen. But I guess they all kind of show up in the sense of like being there to, even as an ambassador, there to make sure they're interfering or stopping something from escalating beyond to unnecessary situations occurring and or the need for police to be called.
So I think your final one that you mentioned was economic development.
Yeah.
And I am curious, like you mentioned COVID was part of what brought you back. Have things rebounded, you think, since COVID, or what more needs to be done to kind of put Ward 5 back on the road to?
Has things rebounded? I think things have rebounded in the ward specifically. I do think that we just deserve more or need more in general, whether that's workforce opportunities, and that can be in the form of, restaurants and tourism type of, developments coming into the ward, or whether that's, like corporations using maybe the space, some of the larger spaces that we have for their plants to be there.
I guess what I think about, like, are there restaurants that were closed that are now back open, or are things shuttered? And because I haven't driven around there much lately, so I'm just wondering if you're seeing some on the ground.
Yeah, most of the stuff that was there is still there. I don't think that we lost a lot of restaurants. I know not due to COVID. Like there were some that were lost when the tornado happened. Some that didn't come back from the tornado. But as far as like COVID taking restaurants out of North Minneapolis, I don't really think that was, or Ward 5 specifically, I don't really think that was the case. A lot of the restaurants that we have are still there, but there's opportunity for more. So come on over.
Well, and how does the city council foster, that environment where people want to move businesses there, do you think? I mean, is it tax breaks, or what would you do to tell companies that you're open for business in Ward 5?
Yeah, tax breaks, but then also too, I just think it's about like elevating that story of North Minneapolis actually being like a great place to be. I know, or I've learned being a part of like some of the Blue Line work, that once, development is announced, that people will begin to look in the area and also want to invest in it because it's along like this transit line and infrastructure. So that will help. But, I think it's really about pushing forward that narrative that it's a great place to be. I think that we just have this negativeness about us, or like people don't think highly of North Minneapolis as they think about like North Loop, which is still North Minneapolis, or South Minneapolis. So changing the narrative is super important. We could talk about tax breaks and all the different things that will help them benefit coming over there, but they will still, the developers or the business will still have to see the potential in the area. And I think that this is North Minneapolis's time right now. I had the opportunity to learn a bit about like opportunity zones and how things are getting ready to shift, and there's not too much more they could put in North Loop. Is going to start coming over our way, so we're ready for it.
Okay. So you mentioned the Blue Line, and Frankly, I haven't paid much attention to that issue because it's not a line I would take.
Yeah.
But tell me more about it. It goes from where to where. Why is it important to the area, and sort of what's been your involvement with it?
Yeah. So the Blue Line will go from Bloomington, the Mall of America is the last stop, Mall of America, all the way to Brooklyn Park, which will be like the Target Corporation.
So is it an extension?
Yeah, it's going to be
Okay,
extended.
so
So currently it stops at the Twins Way.
Okay.
The Twin Stadium. But they're going to extend it from there to Brooklyn Park, the Target like headquarters out there. And it's going to go through North Minneapolis. So the extension is supposed to go down 10th Avenue, come off on Washington, come up Washington. They're supposed to build a bridge over 21st for 94 over the highway there, along 21st, and then it's going to come back out on like James or Irvin, and then go along Broadway, which turns into 81, all the way to Brooklyn Park. My involvement, I've been a cohort member, so I've been responsible for kind of like educating the community, hosting events with project staff and different organizations in the community to just educate and inform residents about the train coming. And then I'm also a member of the Blue Line Coalition, and in that space, we advocate that it's not about the train, it's about the people. So we went down to the Capitol and advocated for $10 million in anti-displacement funding, which
I saw you got it. Right?
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, so the Anti-Displacement Prosperity Board is currently working to get that into the community. I'm not a part of that, but I show up.
How will that work? Is it just for businesses, or is it for homeowners and stuff too? Like, who gets the $10 million?
It's supposed to be for a little bit of everybody along the corridor. They're still working out the dynamics, so I don't have specifics all the way yet. But yes, it's supposed to be for workforce, homeowners, renters. They're supposed to be like assistance in some type of way for a little bit of everybody, as long as you're along the corridor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think Metro Transit has been a good partner with the community? Have they been listening? And
yes, as far as me and how when we show up in these spaces, like for instance, the Blue Line Coalition, some of the members, we had a meeting with the project team, just getting updated. I think that's great. I think that is wonderful how they're receiving our feedback and implementing it in the project and the mitigation and, different ways that they see how they can give back to the community for this extension. Yes, I do think they're doing a great job.
Oh, that's good to hear. And the latest news that I've read, and maybe you saw this, was that they just had to hire to the tune of like $57 million, like extra security for the trains, for checking people who are skipping out on fares and people who are doing drugs and, all the things that are maybe keeping people from using those lines. And, that's kind of disappointing to see, and it really made me think a lot about how we spend so much money for like the few people that are, say, causing trouble.
Yeah.
And the impact that it has, because ridership's down, and $57 million for private security is obviously a lot.
Yes.
And so I don't know how they ever. Not that they necessarily ever have to make money, but you certainly don't want it to be just a real deficit after deficit, getting bigger and bigger,
Yeah, true.
So, but you're in favor of the Blue Line, I'm guessing, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I think when you think in terms of accessibility and allowing people to be able to get around, I mean, we have bus rapid transit as well, but that only goes so far or to certain areas, and I do think that the ability to be able to get from suburb to suburb, city to city is a great idea. I just hope that, things like the $57 million, that's all like really evaluated and considered thoroughly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in a 6-way race?
Yes.
I think I don't think there's any other ward that's seeing that kind of competition.
Yeah. It's an open seat though. So
it's an open seat.
Yes.
Yep. So how would you say you're different from the other people in the race? Like, why, when people go in there to mark their ballots, should they put you first?
Yes, I think that what makes me different would be the relevance that I have in the community right now. I feel like a lot of them talk about what they've done and who they know. I know some of the names that they say too, but I'm not trying to win off of the who I knows. I want to win more so based off of my resume and the work that I've put into my community. And then two, I think that it's important to champion people who, or consider people who are also like from the community, from the place. I think that there's just a little more, I'm not gonna say, well, I feel like maybe the intention or the, the motivation might just be a little more different as compared to someone that may not be from the place. But yeah, I think that.
So am I to understand there's people running who are not from Ward 5?
Yes, there are people that are running that are not even from Minnesota. So yes,
all right.
not that matters all the way, but I do think that there's just
our mayor is from.
I know he's not from Minnesota either. Yeah. He's done great, but I still feel like people who are from certain places, they may envision something a little differently versus like you coming from another place and having a certain vision for that specific area. So yeah, I think that also makes a difference. But yeah, just my work that I'm doing, how I'm still invested in my community right now, in a lot of different issues, not just one thing specifically. I think that's what sets me apart from everybody else.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on the mayor's race? Is there anyone that you're supporting that you want to share or not? Or?
I don't want to share.
Okay,
I don't want to share. Just I think that the mayor race is interesting. I've had the opportunity to talk to, I think, I don't know. I think there's like 13 of them now.
15. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I've had an opportunity to talk to the ones who started in the race. So yeah, and it's been interesting getting to know each person. But yeah, I think that it's important to talk politics, but as a candidate, I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. And I think that everyone should do their research and just learn more about people before they decide to pick them or put them into office. I think that would be my best advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, has your campaign started like door knocking and going around? And,
yes.
And what are some of the things that you hear from your neighbors and residents when you knock on doors? What first comes to mind for them?
There's a lot of just the question of will you show up? I've had people say,
will you show up?
Will you show up? Just
like to work?
Yeah, will you show up? Will you answer the phone? Like that constituent services part of it. There's a lot of like questions around that. After the candidate forum.
So
go ahead.
Does that mean they don't feel like their current counselor is doing that?
Yeah, I think that is a notice in the community, yes. Okay. So that has been brought to my attention more than once, too. The candidate forum just passed, and then at Open Streets over the weekend, someone mentioned something about public safety to me, so there's been a couple questions about that. Since the incident that occurred at Annunciation Church, there's been questions about like gun violence and gun safety and my thoughts on that.
And how do you answer that? Like, that's obviously a very current debate. I've written about it, and a lot of people will write into me, and I see a diverse range of thoughts about gun control in the city, and I think the mayor wants to get the state legislator to let us ban assault rifles in the city. And
I'm here for that.
Okay.
I am here for that. I support the mayor 100% with that. And I just, for me, when it comes to incidents like this, like we need to get a hold of it so that it stops. Like it can just stop happening. So, and by any means, whatever that means, because it's not adults that's losing their lives. These are children that we're talking about that have futures and opportunities, and they deserve to live that out without it being taken from, gun violence, assault rifles. I feel like there should have been a ban, and I think that this needs to be done as a nation, not just here in Minnesota. But I mean, whatever it takes if it's just our city and other cities aren't in support of, I think that 100% I support Mayor Frye with that. I think that
Well, and a lot of people also point to you can ban the guns, but there needs to be that additional services like mental health services and ability to identify people who are maybe unstable. We already have red flag laws. I mean, it's a frustrating situation, right? Because there are some laws that are supposed to identify these people. And you know, that person was obviously, you know, deranged, but then there's other people that seem to just get caught up in sort of like gang violence or stuff like that.
I mean, even with this situation that just occurred, and we talk about like mental health, I even think about like how the person was able to put the information on YouTube first. Like, why isn't there a way that like there's people working for YouTube that's monitoring video, you know, just stuff like, because the individual could have been caught before or stopped or anything before it even transpired. So there's things like that too. I do think that even when it comes to just communities, yes, there's gang violence, and there's incidents that take place too. And like for me, one thing I've been like advocating for is like gun buyback, but I mean, I guess there are stipulations that come with that, so you would still have to build that trust and make people want to bring, you know, the guns in. I think that it's important to teach about like gun safety, because we even have incidents where children accidentally shoot themselves too, you know. So I think that there's a lot of dynamics. I think mental health is important too, but again, like, if you don't know a person and you meet a person, how do you know that they're like mentally unstable just by one conversation or something like that? You know, maybe the family can address some of those things, but even some family dynamics are made up where people are so busy that they don't even have time to catch things. So things slip through the crack 100%. I think there's a lot of dynamics to that situation that occurred, and I think that there's a lot that can be done. But if for now the thing that we can do as a city is what Mayor Frye is imposing, I think that that's a start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another big sort of sticking point that's come up recently in the council is the George Floyd Square. Some people want to keep it, turn it into a pedestrian mall. Others want to let buses go through there, let businesses come back. Do you have any take on that?
I mean, out of respect for what has happened to Mr. Floyd himself, I think that it would be wonderful to keep it closed and turn it into a mall and bring businesses in that way, if that's an option. I think that would be awesome. I guess I do get it if people want buses. Again, that is another one of those situations where I probably would take myself personally out of it and talk to the people in my ward, and maybe it's just broken down to a majority vote type of thing. And if more constituents are saying that they want a mall, we're voting for the mall. If more constituents are saying they want buses, we're voting for the buses. I think it's about listening to what the people want.
Earlier you mentioned that you're in favor of rent control. Do you know, are you unique of the people running who favors that, or do others favor that as well?
I don't. Are you talking about for Ward 5 specifically? Or
the candidates you're running against.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. We haven't had very many questions about like rent control specifically. We've had a lot of questions just about affordable housing. So when you label them that way, you can get different responses. So I don't know. And as far as like questionnaires that are posted, I don't necessarily read the other candidates' responses. I'll read like into what the mayors are saying, just because I have to vote. Well, I guess I have to vote for. Yeah, I guess I should start. I don't know.
Okay.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, I'm just, maybe you could speak on it a little bit more, because, you know, some of the, I guess, criticisms that I hear, one, people say like, well, look what happened in St. Paul, didn't go well. And Another is that Minneapolis is doing a pretty good job at keeping rents down. I think at 2.3%. And then that it will basically result in like capital flight. So like none of the developers will want to or be able to afford to come here and build and affordable housing and other things because they don't know what's going to happen with rent control, and it makes it hard for them to project out their profits and get loans and different stuff like that. So I think that, and then I guess another argument that I've heard is that landlords who might keep the rent the same every year will no longer do that. They will automatically raise rents. So that's just some of the kind of negatives I've heard about rent control. Just wondering if you have any
positives. I mean, I guess those all sound like views from the person that would be profiting. I guess when you think about the tenants, again, it would be beneficial for them. So I do think it's a good thing. Of course, you have to think of the economics of it all. So, I mean, if we can continue to do a great job of not necessarily raising that percentage, I know 3% is like what they are like considering like putting a stop on, but like if we can do a good job of like managing that percentage, I think that there wouldn't be a need, because you do have to think as a council member or a politician, you have to consider everything. It's not just one side. You have to consider both sides. You want development, you're going to have to be considerate of that. So one of those situations where, yes, I support it. I think that it would be good, but if we're able to manage where we are and keep that percentage low, I don't think that there's necessarily a need for it. And again, I think it is. I don't want to like say it's good, but I think it is a good learning curve to be able to watch what St. Paul has going on, because that also helps steer perspectives in a way where we're able to see, okay, well, this is working, this isn't working. What if we were to do it? How could we do it better? So yeah, I mean, you have to consider everybody in the situation as a politician. But again, if we're able to manage that percentage and keep it low, I think that there wouldn't be a need for rent control. So yeah. Okay.
Another thing that has really confused me in terms of like renting is it seems like not enough of the buildings are being inspected. It seems like we have inspectors, but do you have any thoughts on that? I don't understand really why more of the buildings, especially on the north side, aren't being inspected, and whatever deficiencies are found are pushed to.
Yeah, I'll speak for like the neighborhood that I work in. So one of our board members, she used to work for the University of Minnesota, or she still does work for the University of Minnesota, and she just kind of mentioned to us how like the U puts up this 20-year housing, and then after 20 years they plan to like redevelop it or fix it back up. And that's what's happening in North Minneapolis. It seems like there's housing that's being put up with not the intentionality of it maybe lasting as long.
So let me just go back. You're saying that the housing is getting built that's intentionally meant to last 20 years?
Well, that's based off of like conversations that I'm having with our board member. It seems that way. Like the housing isn't like structured to last for a very long time. It's like quick, put up fast.
Right.
Yeah, not really meant to last for a long time, and that's why there's like decays and the reasons why the properties are not doing so well. I know where I currently work, we're experiencing exactly this. That area used to be considered like a poverty at one point. And we've like reached out to the city to come and do inspections and stuff like that, and they come, but I don't know if there's like that follow-up portion of it, or the continuum of making sure that what they've inspected is actually being fixed or done, because it's not happening in the neighborhood that I work for. So I would agree. I do think that there is something being missed somewhere where these properties are not doing the best, and even when you reach out to the people that are supposed to like there's not that follow-up portion where they're making sure that it's actually being done. And that's a little scary, just thinking about the living conditions of the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other renter protections that I think has occurred recently is they changed where for eviction, it was supposed to be, like, it used to be 15 days, and now they have to give 30-day notices. I don't know if I have that right, but do you favor that? And then are there other rent protections that you think could be added into the system to help renters?
I do favor that because, 15 days is not a lot of time to figure out your next move. If you're evicted, you have to go at this point, but just allowing that family, that person, whoever, enough time to figure out their next move is important. I think that there could be more protections around maybe like legal consulting in any kind of way, so maybe some funding for that to assist residents when they need help. I think that like assistance funds would be great, but you don't want to like have it where people are able to just keep coming back to that either. But yeah, I think that those are like small ways to help people, especially like the legal portion. I feel like what I've experienced where I work again, there's a lot of questions about like utilizing escrow, for instance, just because like if they feel like their apartment isn't being maintained, why should they be paying their rent? So they put their money in escrow. They want to put their money in escrow. And that's the like legal process for that. But then you also have that barrier where they feel like it's just so much to put their money in escrow, all the accounts and everything that they have to create, and going and putting their money in there, they just feel like the barrier of having to go downtown, maybe not having a vehicle or the transportation money to get downtown. So I think if there was a way to also alleviate some of those barriers and maybe I've never utilized escrows, I've never made an account, I don't really know how it works from a personal experience, just from verbatim, but like maybe figuring out a way to also alleviate some of the barriers of those processes to help the people and make it a little more easier and accessible. I think that could be another protection because, then, that stops the eviction process because your rent is paid, is just held until it's holding the property manager or the landlord accountable to fixing whatever needs to be fixed. So I think that's something else that could be enhanced in a way.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I've not heard of that. In terms of like renters, it's pretty common with homeowners because you pay into escrow and then each month they take your insurance and your taxes and everything out of that, and your mortgage payment, so it's all there, and it's kind of applying that to the renter situation. All right, well, are there any topics that you wanted to talk about today that maybe we haven't touched on, or?
No, I just want to continue to elevate that Ward 5 is a beautiful place to work, live, and play, and that is my goal. I just want to enhance that and make everyone know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if people want to learn more about you and your campaign, how do they do that?
Yeah, so my website is Anndrea Young for Ward 5. My email address is the exact same thing, just at gmail.com. So you can reach out to me there. If you go on my website, it has the links to all of my social medias as well as my email address on there as well, and phone number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for